Okay, so question number 7. Consider the following solvent pairs when mixed. Which pair will form 2 layers? If they form 2 layers, which solvent will be on top? Okay, so to answer this question, let's recall the phrase that like dissolves like. So when we have a polar substance plus another polar substance, this term is referred to as miscible, so that means they dissolve each other. Similarly, if you have nonpolar plus another nonpolar substance, then they dissolve each other as well, and they don't form 2 layers. But if we had a polar substance mixed with a nonpolar substance, then that means the two are immiscible, and they will form 2 layers. Okay, so let's start off with hexanes and water. So hexanes are nonpolar, so they only contain carbon and hydrogen, and those are all nonpolar bonds, and they all have like carbon and hydrogen have a similar electronegativity, so there are no dipole moments involved, so this is a nonpolar substance. But water, on the other hand, is polar. So therefore, they will form 2 layers. And if we were to look at the density of the two, you'll see that hexane has a smaller density, so it will be on top. Okay, so now let's look at B. Water plus methylene chloride. So methylene chloride is also known as DCM. And it's actually a polar substance. So these will dissolve. I'll just say that they'll mix. But typically DCM is heavier. So if it is left just sitting there for a long time, then it might just sink to the bottom. So it just kind of like depends on the situation, but typically because methylene chloride is polar, they would mix. So it's one of those tricky kind of compounds. So C, hexanes, and methylene chloride will form 2 layers. And again, the hexane will be on top. D, methanol plus hexanes. So methanol is polar. So therefore, they will also form 2 layers. I believe hexane will still be on top. Next, we have ethanol and water. So these two are both polar, so they will mix together and no layers will be formed. And then lastly, we have acetone and toluene. These will also mix together. Okay, so the junior tutor said that in determining whether the two solvents we will mix, we will apply the concept like dissolves like. Two solvents have the same properties, they will mix, otherwise they will form two layers. In determining which of the two solvents will be on top, we need to compare their densities. Solvent with the lower density will float and be on top, while the one with the higher density will be at the bottom. So A, hexanes are nonpolar, water's polar, so they will form two layers, and hexane will be on top. And they also included the density as well. B, they said will form two layers. I'm just going to add a note that this explanation is correct. Okay, so I just added just a bit about methylene chloride. So they said water will be on top and the methylene chloride will be at the bottom. So you can see that its density is like 1.33. So you can see it has a much higher density than water. That's why layers might form. C, they will mix. So again, they said that methylene chloride is nonpolar, but it is still considered a polar molecule. So I'll write down the structure of methylene chloride. This is the structure. So it contains two chlorine atoms, which are both electronegative. So it will form a dipole moment within the molecule. Okay, so D will form two layers. Methanol is polar, hexanes are nonpolar. E, it will mix. F, it will mix. Acetone can be mixed with almost any solvent, and toluene can be mixed with almost any solvent except water. Yeah, so it's a pretty tricky question sometimes when you work with like methylene chloride, but the explanation is correct. So I'll still say that the solution